欢迎收看我们这一期的对话领事，我是主持人雅乔。那么今天请到的嘉宾是奥地利驻香港领事馆的总领事 Claudia. Claudia, thank you very much for coming and joining us for this program.
Thank you so much.
You look amazing today. I need to tell you this. The
Thank you.
traditional dress of Austrian. In what occasions do you usually wear it?
Well, you know, this is a special traditional dress. We call it dirndl, which is also sort of a local way of saying little sweet girl. It's quite feminine, sexy dress, and there's a trend actually among young Austrians to wear it. But you would wear it rather on special occasions if you go to a folk festival, a certain village or a city festival, a ball, or any bit more official or festive evening event.
That definitely makes you look like a little sweet girl today.
Thank you so much.
And we also need to thank you for bringing us some really nice dessert that we can see displayed on this table. It's an Austrian traditional chocolate cake, right?
It is. It's one of our most, I guess, famous dessert or culinary export product. It's a Sacher cake, which is a traditional chocolate cake from Vienna. The recipe is more than 150 years old, and it's, I guess, one of the most popular dishes in Austria.
踏寻茜茜公主的足迹，在静谧美好的童话小镇中流连忘返，在空气中拨动音乐的符号。这是奥地利，一个山水间的音乐之城。这里随处可见巴洛克的宫殿、典雅的法国园林，林立于风光秀丽的山水间的古堡。在维也纳金色大厅听一场美妙的交响乐，在林茨乘坐黄色的微型观景列车，将如画风光收入眼底。 登上塞尔茨堡，俯瞰田园城市，眺望阿尔卑斯雪山，在哈尔施塔特湖边，惬意地享受大自然的纯净；在因斯布鲁克的世界顶级滑雪场滑雪，在黄昏看白雪点亮宁静古朴的城市，每一寸青砖瓦灰都诉说着历史。花团锦簇的喷泉，精致的雕塑彰显着城市的品味。如镜般的湖边，一座座民居倒映其间，天鹅也在此徘徊不肯离去。 因为这里是人间天堂，倘若人间真的有天堂。
I think this is a good start because that's pretty much what I'm going to ask you later on. A lot of people know that Austria, apart from being a well-developed country, a rich country, it is a great destination for tourists to visit. We know Vienna, you know, the city of dreams and the city of music. We also know Salzburg, you know, the hometown of the great artist, musician Mozart. What else do you think Austria can offer?
You know, what I think what makes Austria so unique, or what Austria is really good at, is the blend between tradition and modernity, sort of the rich cultural heritage, but also the contemporary innovation spirit that permeates Austria. So there's a lot for each and everyone, for young people, for elderly, for people with families, for those who are very outdoor-oriented. I mean, in summer you can just enjoy, you know, the picturesque alpine scenery and go hiking or relax on the shores of the wonderful mountain lakes. On winter, you know, it's the winter sports capital of Europe, alongside with Switzerland, and you can ski or go cross-country skiing or even hiking up the mountains. But apart from it, you know, Austria is really known for its rich, its cultural hotspot. So if you're an indoor aficionado, you can, you know, indulge in world-class museums, lots of theatre scenes, music all over, great imperial architecture in Vienna. So there's a lot you can see. So there's a lot for all tastes.
Austria is doing pretty good in tourism. We noticed that nearly 5 million tourists from all over the world chose to visit, you know, Austria every year. And what the majorities of the tourists are from?
Actually, most of them come from Europe, but right next to the Europeans, it's China. Austria is actually the fifth country that Chinese visit most, and the trend is really promising. More and more Chinese come and enjoy and are attracted towards, you know, Austria's breathtaking landscape, but also the cultural highlights. And obviously music is something that Austria is very associated, and Chinese are great music lovers.
I'm sure that there are a lot of celebrations and special festivals in Austria that you would like to recommend to our audiences here today. What is the best time of the year to go?
I mean, you know, there are cultural performances, world-class cultural performances in music all over the year, all over Austria. But the peak season is certainly summer, so from July to August, which is a great time to visit anyway. It's very nice, mild weather, but still, you know, warm. And there are lots of festivals. I guess a classic is the Salzburg Festival. It gives you a good opportunity to see the medieval town of Salzburg, very baroque, very nice, very beautiful. By the way, Salzburg is very known for the Sound of Music, and we're celebrating this year 50 years of Sound of Music. So it's definitely also a good opportunity to visit Salzburg and combine it with the Salzburg Festival, which is the most outstanding festival in classic music.
So are you saying that most of the festivals or celebrations are still like celebrating your musical heritage?
Not only, I mean, definitely, as you said, Austria is the mecca for classic music. Either you go to the Vienna Festival Weeks, but it's also, abundant of contemporary music. Not only, it's everything, jazz, folk, hip hop, pop. There's lots of cultural music performances all over the year.
徜徉在莫扎特、弗洛伊德、施特劳斯等大师的街头，很难不发现千年文明历史在此留下的痕迹。多瑙河畔，欧洲心脏地带，这个地理位置让奥地利面临多个邻国国家的文化影响。奥地利的文化历史和现状受到全世界关注，在这里，文化气息到处可见。无论是保存千载的辉煌建筑，还是现代艺术的展览，无论是剧院、音乐会、大小艺术节，还是民俗节日，传承着古典艺术的精粹，也在创造着与时俱进的潮流。丰富的文化遗产，四通八达的交通网络，舒适的天气，热情好客以及精益求精的奥地利人，把这里经营成了全球最宜居的国家之一。
We need to move on to the culture part because as you said, Austria boasts with really rich culture. The culture is quite unique even in Europe. But we know that Austria has developed a high standard of living, and in 2011 was ranking 19 in the world for its Human Development Index. And actually in 2014, Austria ranks number 8 on the official ranking of the best 20 countries to live in the world. So why do you think that Austria can achieve these rankings?
Austria is indeed an amazing country, and obviously I'm biased because I'm the person who's supposed to represent this wonderful country. But I think there's a set of different factors that come together. If you look at the social, cultural, political, and economic components that all sort of come together and make Austria such a unique and good place to live in. It boasts of an excellent infrastructure. It has an excellent education and health system. Education is accessible for all, for free, from kindergarten up to university. It's a very safe country with the highest environmental standards. Austria, by the way, for instance, is the largest organic agricultural producer in Europe. We have one of the most stringent environmental laws. Food security is very high on our agenda. The air quality is exemplary. In Vienna, for instance, is probably one of the only metropolitan areas where you can have water from the tap out of an alpine spring delivered by a 150 kilometers water pipe, directly from the mountains.
So it's basically environment, the safety.
I think it's social stability. It has
social
a sound
stability.
Political and economic environment. It's the second richest country in Europe.
That's how you define the best country to live in the world. So how do you define the best city to live in the world, like your city, Vienna? A city survey actually confirmed Vienna the world's most livable city. And we need to notice that that's the fifth time in a row.
Exactly. Vienna is really outstanding. It's not only been ranked as the most livable city in the world, as you said, for the 5th consecutive time. It's one of the greenest, smartest, most innovative. And actually, it's been also ranked as #1 city in the world for under 25-year-olds to live. So what Vienna makes, I think, or what Vienna is really good at is that all government activity is really geared towards enhancing quality of life of every citizen in the city, and it doesn't matter whether you're a young person or an elderly, a person with a family or a person with disabilities. Even for the destitute, there's a lot of offering in terms of making sure that there's social cohesion and social fairness, public housing, for instance. It's probably one of the most affordable cities in the world.
Or maybe education?
Education is free, as I said, up to university. There's a lot of cultural offerings. There's a lot of focus on social cultural participation. It's about what that you feel that it's your city. So citizen participation has also a strong value.
In history, Austria has produced many famous thinkers, writers, and actors and scientists over the past few centuries, and culture is your trademark, which is why your country has been so unique. And how's the culture heritage today, in the past, is reflected in the everyday life of our society?
Well, culture has a strong place in Austrian society. I mean, as you said, we look back at a rich cultural heritage and a legacy that makes that sort of builds the foundation of our success. But we are also a forward-looking, very innovative country. What we try to do is nurture not only the hardware. If you look at the infrastructure that Vienna, in terms of culture, offers, it's mind-boggling. There are, apart from the seasonal programs in Vienna, there are about 2,500 cultural events each year. So that's 7 major events each day. But we also nurture the software, the people, and love the music and culture and the arts. It's part of a public discourse. We read about cultural events and trends. about opera singers and about opera productions in newspapers, in social media. I think that's quite unique that you would have at 8 o'clock people sitting down and watch an opera performance or the New Year's concert.
So people are still like that these days, or it's still like enthusiastic about the culture.
It's still in our culture. It's sort of in our mentality, in our DNA, as you say.
It's part of your culture.
It's culture. You have to have a culture for culture. Even you have to nurture it. Music education, for instance, is compulsory. Once you have this kind of tradition and people who really live it, then it's easier as a nation to really live it.
欢迎回来对话领事，我是主持人雅乔。那我们今天请到的嘉宾是奥地利驻港领事馆的总领事 Claudia。
奥地利驻港领事 Claudia 来港有1年半时间，在香港的奥地利领事馆不大，团队属于小型规模，但是香港和奥地利的来往业务确实相当频繁，这让 Claudia 每天的工作非常有挑战。在交谈中 ，Claudia 告诉了我们一个全方位的奥地利，它不仅拥有美丽绝伦的风光，还有着世界顶级的科技创新水平。他真诚地希望我们了解这个充满魅力的国家，也希望在香港努力推动两地间更多的政治、经济、文化方面的交流。
Thank you very much again. Now we're going to move to the questions about yourself. Regarding yourself, I read that you have degrees in law and MBA. So why did you take these subjects, and do you find these subjects, kind of help you develop your diplomatic ability?
I felt that my legal background actually was quite helpful in understanding political and legislative processes, understanding how negotiating works, and also the function in workings and the structure of organizations. Law studies gives you also some sensitivity in language and the meaning, and I think this is a key feature of communication and diplomacy. And diplomacy is basically about communication.
And MBA as well?
Well, the MBA was very useful because it gave me a good idea of the business world and managing techniques. More and more diplomacy is evolving and changing, and diplomacy has also to take on, the latest management skills. So I actually benefited from this very much so.
So right now, as a consul general in Hong Kong, what is your priority? I mean, you have a lot of responsibilities, right? So what is your priority? Like I would usually ask all the consul generals the same question, though.
As I said, as we are quite small team, so I'm trying to cover actually everything from, from obviously the official part, politics and government relations, but from culture, science, innovation, technology. Set myself 3 priorities, and the first is sort of the core business of a consulate, which is the, ensuring that we render first-class consular services to the Austrian community. Which includes for me also catering to their needs, making sure that the community at large is cohesive and feels at ease here. The Austrian community is a great one, The Austrian community is the largest Austrian expat community in Asia. And we're actually currently working on a book, which I, if you allow me, just would like to highlight. This is a new book. It's called Service Hong Kong, and it is a compilation of the Austrian experiences in Hong Kong. So obviously also the visa procedures are very important, and we try to be as expeditious and efficient as possible for everyone who is interested in traveling to Austria. Second, as I mentioned, is political reporting. That's the classic task as a diplomat, and enhancing government-to-government relations. We just recently concluded a working holiday agreement with Hong Kong. I'm very proud and very happy that we did that. And we're working on all other issues where we can sort of enter into a meaningful dialogue and build a long-lasting relationship. And the third part, what I would call, is public diplomacy, but also nation branding. And I explain that to you. Public diplomacy is basically entering into communication, dialogue with non-official Hong Kong. So all people of all kinds of walks of life, from academia to business, finance, the arts. And the idea is, to see whether we can forge new and innovative alliances and partnership to move our bilateral relationship forward.
This is the beginning of the year of 2015. So do you have a big plan for Austria this year in Hong Kong?
Last year was very much about celebrating 160 years of relations between Austria and Hong Kong. And the Austrian community was very proud that Austria has been one of the first nations represented officially here. This year is, I think, about deepening our relationship. And in particular, I see potential in working in the field of urban innovation and smart cities. And the other field where I think Austria has a unique proposition to make, that's the field of culture and the arts, and the whole field of creative industries. So I want to push that, and I'm quite active in working in this respect.
奥地利为经济高度发达国家，富裕程度在全球名列前茅。奥地利加入欧盟后， 执行欧盟的对外经贸政策法规。奥地利同150余个国家和地区有贸易关系，主要贸易伙伴为欧盟成员国，其中德国是最大的贸易伙伴，其次是意大利、法国和荷兰。除欧盟外，在欧洲以外国家中，美国、日本和中国是奥地利的重要贸易伙伴。近年来，奥地利和中国双边贸易的规模不断加大，双方在各领域开拓更多互补。
So I would like to talk about the economy of Austria, since that's probably going to be your priority as well.
Exactly.
We know Austria's economy has been performing so well. When the economic crisis hit Europe, economy in Austria was affected only by gone down 0.1%. No influence at all, I should say that. And why do you think Austria has such a stable and ideal environment for investment?
I think indeed, as you mentioned, the framework conditions are very conducive. Austria has, as I said, already an excellent infrastructure, but a very solid, stable political and economical environment. Apart from it, a very highly qualified workforce. And I think there are three key factors that that will sort of explain this success, and that's certainly our education system with a strong focus on vocational training. That means professional skills that are really needed and demanded by the industry. Second is a high concentration of small and medium-sized enterprises that are highly innovative and world market leaders in their respective industries. And third, I guess, is this high focus or very much driven by exports. So Austria is a very small but open, very export-driven economy with about 60% of our GDP earned by exports.
I think that there are not many people are so familiar with the industries in Austria. They didn't realize that the high tech that adopted is actually from Austrian companies everywhere, even in Hong Kong. They're living every day. They
Exactly.
can see it.
We talk so much about culture, but nobody knows that Austria is such an innovative, top-notch, technology-driven country.
Yes, we can see them every day, even in Hong Kong, such as the new airport to the city center, right? The roof structure design and the once largest suspending bridge. Also, they were adopted by Australian technologies. And besides engineering and constructions, what areas do you think that Austria and Hong Kong can work together more?
I mean, there's lots actually. I already said that there's a lot in the field of urban innovation, so waste management. The Austrian waste management system is actually the best, alongside with the Dutch in Europe. But also there's a lot where we could cooperate in the field of housing and transport. For instance, Austria company is world market leader in traffic management. But also it's not really known that the air-to-ground communication system at the airport in Hong Kong is provided by an Austrian company. Actually, the whole air-to-ground communication system, so in the field of security in China, is provided by an Austrian company. Apart from this, as I said, there's a lot we could do in the field of culture and in the arts.
Maybe
I think the possibilities
well.
are endless. Education is a big thing, exactly.
I'm sure a lot of people from Hong Kong, they want to learn music in Austria as well. Like you said, you provide the working holiday visa.
Exactly, and the working holiday, I think, should give our sort of young people even much more of an incentive to go and take up study in Austria and then complement it with some practical training by working in an Austrian firm.
We're talking about the economic ties between Austria and Hong Kong. It's pretty close. How about China? The trade between Austria and China is actually worth 100 billion Hong Kong dollars. And is Austria actually seeking further strengthening economic relationship with China in the future?
Oh, absolutely. China is a very important trade and business partner for us, and I think we both have a lot to gain. In particular, as China is upgrading and modernizing its economy, and I told her already about the Austrian technological prowess and urbanization is such an important issue for China as it moves along. It's a challenge, but also a great opportunity. And China takes this challenge very seriously, in particular in the field of environment, quality of air, and all the rest, water and food security. So I think enhancing our economic ties in these fields could be beneficial for both of us.
I think that there are a lot of things in many aspects. The two countries can also not just complement each other, also learn from each other. Indeed. Even for Hong Kong, you mentioned about the public housing, right? That's something that the experience maybe Hong Kong can learn from Austria in the future.
Absolutely. But we know where we also learn. We have an agreement with China on traditional Chinese medicine. And there's a huge interest in Austria about learning about your
traditional medicine,
yes,
how it works.
Yes, how it works. And
what's the mystery?
Indeed.
that's cultural exchange.
Absolutely. And I think this is also one of my priorities, facilitating these people-to-people contacts, making sure that, not only people here in Hong Kong learn about Austria. I think it cuts both ways. Part of my job is also explaining back home and to Austrians about the important role that Hong Kong plays, in particular as a super connected to China, as a platform for doing business, but also as a platform to understanding China.
We sincerely hope you can achieve your goal and your priorities in moving forward in the year of 2015. I think that's all for today. Thank you very much for your information. We learned so much about your country, Austria. This is a very good opportunity, and thank you very much for your chocolate cake.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.